And I was shocked to see the number that you uncovered that was like 1,941 gold medals were won by male athletes in women-only
That's
competitions.
right.
Where did that how did you document that? How did you find that? Because that number is
Well,
just it's almost too large to
and that's
believe.
and that's just gold
Right.
medals, right? And it's just in the past like 4 or 5 years that this has really happened. So it snowballed very quickly, but that is just the gold medals. This is from over 10,000 different sporting events, and those young women lost about $500,000 in prize money.
Revolution of common sense.
Revolution of common sense.
A revolution of common sense.
Truth was once common sense, but today, truth is uncommon. Explore biblical truths around faith, business, and politics with Peter Demas. Uncommon Sense in Current Times.
Hey folks, welcome to Uncommon Sense in Current Times. I'm so excited to be here with Penny Nance. She is the CEO and president of Concerned Women for America. It's the nation's largest public policy women's organization with over 500,000 members, 400 prayer and action chapters. It's named one of the 100 most influential of evangelicals in America. And Penny has appeared on every major news network, also in outlets like the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, USA Today. She is a strong national voice for protecting women's sports, promoting life, and defending biblical values in public policy. So Penny, thank you so much for being on the show. I would greatly appreciate you being here.
Oh, it's my honor. I should mention we have now about 350 CWA chapters, but also we have 500,000 members, and we have about 340 Young Women for America collegiate chapters now.
Great.
So we've got strong women, young women, older women. I mean, I think our oldest chapter has been around like 40 years, and the women in it are in their 90s, and it's just great that we're intergenerational. But our young women are so strong; they stand up against campus bullies. They've linked arms and protected and stood up for their Jewish friends on campus, but from the anti-Israel bigots. And it's been really so encouraging to me to be working with all of them, honestly.
You know, it caught me off guard when they started putting men in women's sports, and I coached high school soccer, girls soccer, or helped coach them. My daughter was did that all throughout her, and it was just I also helped coach boys, and she would help me with them, and it was always so different. I would always argue that girls were tougher, but boys were stronger, and just the volume of the physical nature, it's just obvious what's there, and I was shocked to see the number that you uncovered that was like 1,941 gold medals were won by male athletes in women-only competitions.
Right.
Where did that? How did you document that? How did you find that? Because that number is
Well,
just it's almost too large to
and that's
believe.
and that's just gold
Right.
medals, right? And it's just in the past like 4 or 5 years that this has really happened. So it snowballed very quickly, and I can talk to you in a minute about the history. But my great CWA staff delved in, and actually it was somebody who had a capstone project as part of her internship, and she delved into several online places, but also looked at a range of research and news stories, and was able to cobble it together. And it's very sound numbers, but that is just the gold medals. This is from over 10,000 different sporting events, and those young women lost about $500,000 in prize money. And so there's real consequences to this nefarious ideology that we've allowed to flourish in our country, and thank God Donald Trump is helping to beat it back. But Concerned Women for America was one of the first to recognize it in 2019. Like, we were out front telling people that, you know, even before that, in the Obama administration, they started trying to slip it in to different kinds of legislation. So anytime the word gender came up,
Right.
it was basically discriminatory against women. So men were allowed to take federal money and be in women's domestic violence shelters. I mean, just in women's prison, just outrageous
Right.
ways that the left had corrupted the idea of the basic unique dignity of women. And at Concerned Women for America, we're brave. We're not afraid to say the thing. And at that time, Peter, there was a lot of people that were afraid, members of Congress, that would not touch us with a 10-foot pole, even though we begged them. And now we see the consequences of the fact that people would not listen.
I know one of the consequences is the physical injuries. I mean, and we see that, and if you follow, and you have the algorithms that probably, like you and I would probably have, you see a lot of those that would pop up from across the country, and you see the stories, you hear the stories. Do you think that the NCAA should be held legally responsible for those injuries?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't even have to finish the question. Absolutely. And our Young Women for America members, some of them are involved in some of those lawsuits. I mean, I think about what a complete destruction of Title IX.
Right.
I mean, it was Democratic women, a woman named Patsy Mink, who was a Democrat member of Congress from Hawaii, that worked so hard to get Title IX passed in order to stop discrimination against women in education and in sports, and all of our tax dollars going to all the boys and the girls getting nothing, right? And that was when I was coming up. That's kind of how
Right.
it was. And then everything, when your daughter played soccer, my daughter played soccer, lacrosse, like all the things, because she had those opportunities that we didn't have in my generation and before us. And even though I was post Title IX, it hadn't worked its way out yet, and it took time for schools to adopt it. And then just when we kind of figure it out, along comes the left and takes like Lucy with the football, takes it away from women once more. And so not only do you have the issues of women being undermined, being pushed to the sidelines, the scholarships being taken away, trophies being taken away, records still being taken away, that we're working now on trying to force schools to give them back their rightful titles. But you also have the fact that women are now no longer able to really move into this time and this great opportunity for them to grow professionally. But one of the things I was going to say was that one of our Young Women for America, and this just kind of gives you a little insight into what these girls were going through. Her name's Kaylee Allen. She swam. She was a national champion in swimming for Duke University. She was titled. She swam in that same competition that Leah Thomas won and took trophies from girls, and Riley Gaines is how we knew about Riley Gaines, right? And let me tell you that outside, we were so ahead on this, that outside of that competition, we were already doing rallies against
Wow.
it. And we had already filed, that was our second complaint to the Department of Education that time against University of Pennsylvania, but we'd already won in the first Trump administration against Pierce University. And so we were ahead of this. We were working on this, but Kaylee Allen is in her locker room. She had no idea a man was going to be in there. And because Leah Thomas, now she finds out when she gets there that she has no privacy. This is her biggest meet of her life. It's her senior year. She's worked so hard for this. She has to leave and go change in a utility closet. And some of the girls followed her and did the same. He literally kicked women out of their own locker rooms.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe even with that situation, he did not actually win. He tied with Riley Gaines. Is it right?
Yes, in her particular
Yes. Okay.
category. But he did win. He won in some other categories.
Okay.
Yes, Riley. I mean, it's shocking that Riley was able to tie
Yeah.
with him. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, and some girls were able to beat him. But I also think, I mean, I don't want to take anything from Riley, but I think there's also a little bit of, strategy there as well. And I feel like maybe he held back on some things, or maybe he's just not that good. I mean, he was number 400 and something in
Right.
the boys team before he moved over to the girls team, which tells you everything you need to know. But this is a fully intact male who still dates girls that is in the locker room demanding to be naked with girls. That is a violation of Title IX. and the NCAA should have to pay out.
So, and help me grasp this, because this is something that I just don't understand. And since you're on the front lines with this, I'm shocked that feminists are uniquely silent in this. Like, and it's like they don't want to kind of participate in it. Yet that doesn't, because they're kind of leftist by nature, generally speaking. It seems to be that this would be one of those things that that you can have some strange bedfellows, and and like the pornography fight, feminists and Christians actually united on that back in the 70s and 80s. But now it seems like a lot of the feminists just want to kind of bury their head, or they actually want to support men and women's sports. What's their rationale behind that?
Well, I'll tell you, there's two different groups, and I had to find this out as well. I mean, I don't always know what the other side's thinking, but there's a group called Radical Feminist, right? And they are completely in line with us both on the issue of pornography and on the issue of men and women's sports, and they are very angry about it, and we've worked very well with them, linked arms with them. These are women who don't agree with us on much of anything else, and it has been a left-right issue, and we've had some real sweet conversations and friendships that have developed because of we're willing to work across party lines and to link arms with when we can. And I've literally had women sit in my office and almost like tearfully say, I can't believe I'm sitting here. People told me you all were the people that hated me, yet my side has completely betrayed us, and here we are on our own. I mean, it goes very deep. It cuts very deep for those women. Yet you have another group of self-described feminists who are up for anything. They don't recognize how much they've hurt their own side, frankly, and are completely disconnected. They're the same people that would say, prostitution is good for women. I mean, these are people that are completely not tracking well with understanding human rights, frankly.
All right. So now going back then to the, we can look at these gold medals and we can see, okay, wait, this person got a gold medal, et cetera. But then when it becomes to team sports, it seems like it becomes more complicated, because we can work on an assumption that because they had the male, they had the advantage and they won. And I would agree that, but it doesn't necessarily indicate they would have won. How do you determine that when it comes to either trying to retroactively award the real winners, or to go back and deal with injuries or whatever? Because even if somebody gets injured on it, that impacts a team dramatically. So how do we deal with other teams?
I mean, I don't know completely. I mean, Peter, it's a mess and it's very complicated. But we do know that there are women who have suffered because of it. We know there's women who didn't get to go to the next level and compete. We know that I have a young woman in my office who played volleyball in high school, and she was great in her state of South Carolina. When she was trying out in front of coaches, they made her play against a man. And so when college scouts are looking at her, like, she's not doing her best because she's got a guy who's, so much bigger, stronger, better oxygenated blood, bigger heart, bigger lungs, and he's able to shoot the ball down her throat. And so she ended up getting a D3 scholarship, but maybe she would have gotten D1. Like, we don't really know. So there's that piece of it that we're not going to ever perfectly going to be able to go back and piece it all together. We definitely, in the individual sports, can take down, some of the, University of Pennsylvania just agreed to President Trump and Linda McMahon's demand that they strip boys from their titles, give them to the women who were unfairly subjected. But there is a lot that has to be done, and we, at the very least, cannot do this again. I mean, we won on the Franklin Pierce case at the Department of Education, but there's still a man that has those titles. We have a lot of cleaning up that needs to be done. I think we're going to work it. It's going to work its way through the courts, but we can't be satisfied with just all these great executive orders that President Trump's done, and there's been a lot of them, and we worked with him early on in 23 on this. But we hope that we have a great Republican, conservative, pro-life pro unique dignity of woman president next, but we have no guarantees. So we need to get as much through the Congress as we possibly can, and we need to do it right now. And we need to recognize the people that were the problem. You've got Roy Cooper now has thrown his hat in the ring for a Senate in North Carolina for a former governor of North Carolina who vetoed the Women's Sports Protection Act in the state of North Carolina. I mean, there needs to be recognition of all of this.
Did you know that sitting all day can significantly impact blood circulation? I mean, look up, there's a ton of research on it. Your leg and calf muscles help pump blood back to your heart. So when you sit, blood pools in your legs. And further studies show that sitting decreases nitric oxide production, making vessels less able to expand. This is why, like in the afternoons, or if you've been sitting for a long time, you start noticing low energy, brain fog, or just kind of feeling a step slower. It might be creeping in on you after a while. And a lot of that could be linked to your circulation. So Juvedon has created Blood Flow 7. It is designed to support healthy nitric oxide levels, which helps your blood vessels relax, open up, improving oxygen and nutrient delivery to your brain, heart, and muscles. That means better stamina, mental clarity, and overall vitality without caffeine or stimulants. It's made with clinically studied natural ingredients, and in research, these have been shown to boost nitric oxide by as much as 230% in just a few hours. It helps open arteries for smoother blood flow. So there's just 2 easy capsules a day. There's no mess, no fuss, and you're supporting your heart health, your healthy blood pressure, and more energy to power through the day. So check it out at bloodflow7, that's the number 7.com/uncommon, or you can click the link in the description. That's bloodflow number 7, so bloodflow7.com/uncommon. It is just common sense. So I want to get into the legal side of it, but real quick, I just kind of want to remind everybody that we're on Rumble, YouTube, we got all the favorite podcasts. So be sure, if you like this type of content, you like these type of things, to be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this, because I think what we're talking about is extremely important. Because I think a lot of people, and Penny, correct me if I'm wrong, but we almost feel like, okay, well, now that Trump's in office, we can relax. But since everything's done with executive orders, and I can think of like the Mexico City policy, which seems like every new White House administration, there's a change on what happens with the Mexico City policy when it comes to abortion funding. And so there seems to be, for me, there's a fear that if Governor Newsom wins the next presidential election, for example, then all this is just going to be for naught, and we're going to have to start all over again, 4-8 years after that. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, listen, a win is a win, and we're winning right now. For instance, in the big beautiful bill, we prohibited Planned Parenthood and big abortion from getting over $700 million of our tax money. That's for 1 year, and we're going to have to do it again in the next Budget Reconciliation Act, because, long story, we had it for 10 years, and the Senate parliamentarians said that it didn't pass the Byrd rule, blah, blah, blah. All that to say, what everyone should be working for right now is to actually get this codified into law, to be working alongside, contacting their members of Congress in the House and Senate. And you know what? Listen, there's some Democrats that need to hear from you and would, in some cases, be open to that. I mean, in states particularly, we've had bipartisan support, because there are people who we disagree with that just can't look at themselves in the mirror and say that men should take women's trophies or be able to, hurt them. And so I think we have a lot of work to do, but also, every election matters, and we got the midterms coming up. We need to make sure that conservatives keep the House and Senate. Mike Johnson is doing a fantastic job. I am working on a day-to-day basis with him and his staff, and I know what's happening behind the scenes. And politics is the art of the possible, and they're not going to get it right every single day. Every single thing that we want can't and won't be done. But when you're winning 99% of the time, when you're putting points on the board, and some of these issues that my entire career I've worked for, I mean, for my entire career have tried to take funding away from Planned Parenthood and give it to people who really need it, or cut spending. That's an idea. And we actually have done some of that, maybe not cut spending, but at least we're not giving it to our enemies who want to use it to elect the worst of the worst and take the lives of unborn children. We can at least do that.
I think a lot of times people that live in Democrat-controlled states or may have their rep as a Democrat, I think a lot of times I don't think people realize that part of lobbying is not to convince the other side to change, but also just to convince them not to fight against something. So their voices are still heard, even if they don't necessarily agree with their politician. Have you seen that from your history?
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's amazing how little it takes to convince a member, like, I don't think I want to get out on front on this, and sometimes it's just 10 calls into their office, or an op-ed by a local person that's of some stature, or maybe it's just the lady next door writing an op-ed that, at Concerned Women for America, we can help you with. To get your voice out there, getting in the local paper sometimes a hard thing, but if you're a local citizen, it's easier. But just doing the work to go to that town hall meeting if they're doing it, and raise your hand and tell your member of Congress, we have a constitutional republic. This is how it's supposed to work. They're supposed to represent you, but they don't represent you if you don't actually take the time and let your voice be heard. I think particularly for women in this time, Peter. We're a Christian organization, so we're very comfortable with these biblical references, but we say this is an Esther moment. Women, messenger matters, right? And we think men are allowed and should have an opinion on abortion. We need strong men, but we need women to stand up and say, as the givers of life, we're not having it. We want other alternatives for women. We want to protect women. And so I think this is our time and our opportunity, and part of what we do at Concerned Women for America is train women to know how to do that, how to bring other people to your side, how to be convincing, and how to know the data and the words to use.
I'm curious, because with abortion, obviously now that's more of a states' rights issue, but with the NCAA, how does that fall? Because most of these colleges play across state lines. So is the NCAA governed by federal, or is it governed by state?
Well, let me back up and say I don't think that abortion is a states' rights issue. I think it is actually a human rights issue and a civil right. So let me start with that. Yes, I think there is some federal ability. You had the Greg Steube bill in the House that was a federal bill, and was I think it's based on the Commerce Clause. I'm not really sure. I don't remember honestly, but that bill has passed 4 times. I think the House of Representatives, and yet to have gotten through the Senate. But I think again we got some work to do in that issue. But you know what I think would be the most profound impact is if this becomes like the key issue that turns the North Carolina Senate race to a Republican. If Roy Cooper loses because he was such an idiot on this issue, then, he's a smart guy. I'm not saying he's not, but I'm just saying, he was just profoundly ignorant and did not understand or frankly care on this issue. And he ended up getting overridden by the legislature with Democrats joining the Republicans to take it away from him. If this is the issue that everybody in North Carolina is like, nope, you don't get this, you don't get us. If you don't understand this issue, you are completely out of touch with the people in North Carolina. And I think if those things become big campaign issues for people as they try to, because all of them think they're going to move up the ladder and be the House members think they're going to be senators, and the senators think they're going to be president. That's just the truth. And so unless they're in the leadership, right? If you're speaker, that's a pretty good place. You're going to stay there. But I think if you really take these guys on this issue and they see this is a net loser for their party, which they still don't know, by the way. They still haven't gotten it even after the last election, when we know we did research and found that the numbers were enormous. And I'm sorry, it's been a little while since I've looked at it, but just numbers of enormous people who voted on that issue, and then 99% of those, if it was their top issue, voted for Trump. It went across every demographic, particularly with Hispanics, men and women, and certainly was a big issue for African Americans as well. So I think that at this point it is a very political politically powerful issue, and our side needs to continue to take it and run with it for all we're worth.
So, for just the average person out there, the cook, the cashier at a retail store, insurance salesman, just someone who's just kind of going through their day-to-day lives, they see this, and a lot of them think, okay, well, that's just somebody else's problem. I don't have to deal with it, etc. What advice do you tell them that it does impact them, that they should be involved in it?
Well, I mean, many of those people have children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews, and you just want things to be fair, right? As a hardworking person, that's where I come from, right? I'm a preacher's kid from Appalachia. I was a Cracker Barrel waitress. I mean, like, I understand working Americans. That's what my life's been like, and I've worked very hard and God's been really good. The things that I've gotten to do in my life are shocking and amazing and bigger than I could have ever thought on my own, but again, God is good. The thing is, we don't have to convince those people. Peter, they already got it. They understand, they get it in their gut level. The people that don't get it are the one percenters, a little bit guilty, people who are in very blue metro areas that are just disconnected. They're watching one channel. They're watching MSNBC. That's where they're getting all their news. And honestly, I think it almost comes down, and this is me, like armchair psychology, but people like to be the good guys, right? And we like to care for the weak. And in fact, in the Bible, Jesus says, care for the least of these. When you care for the least of these, you care for me. And so I think that is like in our humanity, in our DNA, unless you're very, very broken. The vast majority of people need a victim to care for. And the left has exploited a small group of people. Once, gay marriage is over, there's not, discrimination against people that are same-sex married or attracted, whatever. I think that number's gone very, very much lower. But now there's all these groups that won, and they're like, now what are we going to do? We got to have a victim. Right. And so they found this like 0.1% of the population and exploit what they're going through, their mental health issues. And what's so much worse, is that they preyed on little children, on them psychologically in school. You were talking about the stories. I just saw Prisha Mosley's story pop up on mine, and we've worked with her, and she's a detransitioner. When she was 15 years old, she started transitioning. They did what they call top surgery, which is a mastectomy on healthy breast on a healthy young person. And she was too young and confused to know anything. And the medical community preyed on her parents. They see nothing but dollar signs when it comes to this issue. It's billions of dollars a year they've made off of confused and kids and families, hurting families. Denied them the psychological help that they really needed and should have had. In fact, in some cases, made it illegal in California for them to have any other sort of conversation or just sort of a watchful waiting period. And I guess some of that was allowed in California, but much other same-sex attraction was not allowed. Counseling on that. But anyway, all that to say, Prisha Mosley detransitioned. She became a mother. And then because of her top surgery, had horrible issues because there were still the milk ducts in there. She had she had milk in her body that she could not give her baby because her breast had been completely disconnected. Her nipples had been completely disconnected and sewn back on. And the pain goes on and on and on for her because people didn't care.
And so people know we're not talking about rhetoric when you talk about that it's about money. I mean, there's videos where Vanderbilt here in Nashville, Tennessee, where I'm from. Where they're talking about the fact that it is a profitable.
It's a moneymaker. Yes, it is.
And I think people, again, a lot of times we see this, but again, we feel kind of overwhelmed. So how do we help? How do we get involved? How do we learn more about CWA? How do we learn more about how we can get involved? Contact our local reps, all that stuff. What advice do you give us all?
Well, I think the first thing is come to our website, concernedwomen.org. Sign up, see if there's a local chapter around you. Sign up for our weekly report that we put out that gives you like good data and things that we have written. You can go on our website and research. You can use anything we have. We're happy to share anything that you need. Take it. It's free. Use it. Quote it, whatever you need to do. And if you want to go further and you actually want to go talk to your member of Congress or your state legislator, get involved with our chapters and we'll train you how to do that. In fact, we're bringing about 500 women to Washington in September specifically to train them on how to be an advocate and what they need to do, and particularly our Young Women for America members. So you're not alone. You're not crazy. There's a lot of people, even though at the beginning, I think people are starting to get this, but I think that a lot of people were sort of backed into a corner and silenced and bullied into silence. And I think that's over. Now we just got to find the right words and actually be trained on how to engage on it in the best possible way.
And for those of you who have young daughters or young family members that are going to college or going to or that are in college, obviously encourage them, show them the site, and have them go to the site as well, because I think this is extremely important issue, and obviously they do more than just the trans the trans
Yes.
issues. So encourage everybody to go to the website and go from there. Well, Penny, thank you so much. Yeah,
Can
please.
I mention one more
Absolutely.
thing, Peter, especially for young women, because we've really grown in that area and I've learned so much of what they really need. And so I just recently wrote a book. It's a CWA book. I'm not paid for it. It belongs to CWA. And it's on our website, and it's called 7 Rules for Business and Life. And it's for young women launching out into the world, like things that you really need to do, kind of the handbook and cheat sheet that I wish I'd been given coming to the professional world from, Appalachia, the rules for the road that I didn't know at all. And my mom didn't know to teach me, and there were some women in my church that helped, but there were things I learned along the way. And so just imparting that, because what I'm noticing is our kids today really have missed out on some things that older generations knew, and some things have changed, and it just kind of helps them be ready for whatever God has in their life and or has for their future. And so it's also great for women that are relaunching. I mean, we have members that have took time off and were home with their kids and they go back into the workforce. So something, if they just need to kind of freshen up as they go back to the workforce, I think it'd be something great. So come again, it's on concernedwomen.org or it's on Amazon. So we'd love for you
Absolutely.
to have
That sounds great. My daughter is about to turn 21. She's graduated from college, and I think that this sounds exactly what we need to give her. So I'll be looking that up as soon as we get off this call. So
Great.
Penny, again, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. I appreciate the fight you're doing. I appreciate you coming onto the show. And we'll have the website and the show notes and everything there. So once again, thank you so much, and God bless you and your work you're
Thank
doing.
you. You too, Peter.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.